Greetings all and welcome back to Hytale. Today we're going to be getting to grips with some farming and some building. But before we do that, there has been a patch since I recorded the last episode. So I want to go through and highlight some of the patch notes that I've been reading and some changes that has made to stuff we've seen so far. So first of all, I have my trusty hatchet here in hand. And in the earlier episodes, I noted that the actions for primary and secondary left click and right click were the same. That's been changed. So now if I left click, we get the chopping action as before. But if I right click, nothing happens. And why is this particularly exciting? Well, this is exciting because if I put my torches in my offhand, now with a tool such as the hatchet or indeed the pickaxe, which doesn't have its own secondary action, the secondary action now places the torch on the wall. So I no longer have to have a free slot to have nothing in my main hand in order to place torches when we go down into dark places, which is brilliant. So that's really, really exciting. Something else that I saw while I was reading the patch notes, which was a change in terms of how you get hold of it, but something that I just didn't even realize existed and I'm very excited about, is here on the workbench, which I haven't actually checked out yet. But if we look in here, well, first of all, there's a chest. So all of the comments I was making in the last episode about not being able to make chests because I didn't have any iron, that was slightly incorrect because there is in fact a chest in the regular workbench, whereas in the builder's workbench, the furniture workbench, the chests here do require iron. This basic wooden chest is not from that workbench, it's from the regular workbench. So that we can make with just logs. But the exciting thing I'm looking for in here is probably in this one. Yes, there it is, the backpack. So, unlockable backpack, or it does say unlock backpack, which is different from actually crafting it, I'm noting, which is interesting. But with medium leather and iron, which unfortunately we don't yet have, we can have a backpack, which is super exciting because inventory in these games is always an issue. And it will be really, really great to be able to expand our inventory. Speaking of inventory management, something else that is not from the patch notes, but is something that I want to correct, which I had missed before, is I spoke about how in the chest there wasn't really a good way to organize your inventory and your chest, and that was not correct. I had missed some of the items up here. We have, as well as the take all, we have a deposit all, and more interestingly, we have a quick stack. So the quick stack button will transfer items from my inventory that I am carrying, such as here we have the stone rubble, which I have some in the chest and one in my inventory. If I click quick stack, it will match the items from my inventory to the items in the chest. And there's also sort items by type button as well, with both the inventory and the chest. So what's great about that is it means that we can be a bit more organized. So last time we had some issues here. For example, we've got light and medium hide in this chest, and we also had some medium hide in this one and light hide in this one. If I take all from these two chests now and I go back over to here and I click the quick stack, those hides will be in the chest together. So that allows me to organize my inventory a little bit more. When I come back from exploring, I've gathered up materials, I can just... I picked up a helmet from a take all, I guess. Take that off. I can just use the quick stack to make it so that my items go into a chest with other items that they are matched with, so I don't end up with multiple items in different places. And only once I've run out of quick stacks, then you can start depositing new items into the chest as well. I'm not going to go through and organize my chest now, though, because what we are going to be doing today is building and farming, and I'm going to be moving my base to do that. So I've identified this area up here, which looks like it has a nice wide open space and is also close to this interesting biome, which I think are those blue trees? I'm very intrigued. I did pick up some azure logs from a mob previously, so I'm wondering whether that might be what that is. But we're going to go up here and we're going to put down a little camp, and we're going to use that area to build ourselves a house and put some farming in place. So I'm going to make sure that my chests are organized when I get there, but I'm not going to waste time organizing them right now. So I'm on my way up to the area in the north, which you can see is tagged on the compass over there. And I just wanted to highlight something that I've noted as I've been crossing this river. So those of us who are familiar with Minecraft, you will be aware that in that game you have to hold yourself towards the surface of the water. You have to constantly hold spacebar, and you kind of bounce up and down as well as you swim, unless you go into swim mode, to stop yourself from sinking. But here I am in the river in Hytale, and if I take my hands off the keyboard for a second, there is no sinking. So the character naturally stays at the top of the water. However, if I press Control, which is a crouch button, I then do sink under. And I also continue to sink. If I let go, once I'm under the water, I do sink down, and I have to hold spacebar to get back up. Once I'm back on the surface, I once again am staying on the surface. So that's interesting change, and actually I think probably nicer. I don't have to hold spacebar as I swim along the river, which is great. And another thing to note here from the patch notes I've just been reminded of as I've seen this fox snoozing in the grass here. There is a note in the patch notes that cautious predatory creatures will no longer attack the player. So before, in a previous episode with the fox, it initially sort of ran away from me, but when I got a bit too close, it did charge me. Whereas now, I think if I approach this fox, it shouldn't attack me. So let's have a look. So if he sees me, he alerts, and what does he do? He looks, and he runs away. Yeah, so he no longer becomes aggressive like he did before and attacks me, which is another change from the latest patch. Oh, I say that, but now I'm being attacked by the fox. So I'm not sure. Difference there. Interesting. Okay, so here we are in the rain in this area here in the sort of clearing that I showed you earlier, and we have some predators around. There's some wolves over there. I think I saw a bear. Can we see a bear? Is that a bear? Yeah, that looks like a bear over there. But what I've found is this nice little stone or marble area here, and actually, what can I clear? That almost looked like the grass disappeared there, didn't it? Strange. Doesn't look like I can clear it off though. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down my various workbenches and stuff that I brought with me in this little area, and this is going to be our little camp for doing some building and some farming in these plains. Okay, well, here we are. We've set up ourselves a little camp here around this little stone square. I've got all my workbenches. I've even put in a tanning rack there as well. And we are almost ready to get set up. I've got some iron in the furnace. I had to find a nearby cave, and I have managed to pick up some iron ore. Got some iron smelting in the furnace. And I've made the tanning rack so I can get some medium leather to work towards this backpack unlock. However, what we're going to do now is, while that's working away, is we're going to get stuck in here on this builder's workbench. And first thing we're going to do is going to see what we can produce from our wood types. So you'll notice here that underneath the names of the logs, it says oak log, maple log, etc. It then says hardwood, redwood, lightwood, and you'll notice the redwood log and the maple log both say redwood. And what I've discovered essentially is that it's that thing, the second redwood, hardwood, etc., that determines what you get from putting that log on the crafting bench. So that is different from what those of us who come from Minecraft will be used to, where each individual log type has its own color schemes. In this game, in Hytale, instead, what you get is hardwood, redwood, lightwood, and possibly some others as well. So this hardwood log oak will give me hardwood planks, hardwood decorative planks, and all of these hardwood items, including roofs, trapdoors. There's even a wardrobe in here. All of this stuff can be crafted directly from hardwood. If I put a redwood instead, I get the redwood varieties. And similarly, I haven't actually looked at these previously, but the lightwood versions are different again. So you can have different trees that will still give you the same type of wood. We obviously have hardwood in the greatest abundance, so that's what I'm going to be looking at mostly for looking to put some blocks together to build ourselves a little basic house to keep us safe and sheltered. And I've got hardwood planks, and I'm assuming it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so let's see what happens if I click craft. Yeah, so I've got one of my logs has disappeared, and I have one hardwood planks. What about ornate ones? Oh, let's see the decorative ones. That's 1-to-1 as well. I'm guessing, based on the fact that some of these have numbers here, is that this is what you get from one of the pieces of it. So if I put in for, say, a door, we're going to need one of those. 62 oak logs. Oh, that required 2. So it doesn't actually tell you that. It's not very clear there that it takes 2 oak logs to make a door. It would probably be quite a good thing, I think, if it did. I think that would be useful to know. But it clearly did take more than 1 log to produce that door. Now, I'm curious to see what happens if I put planks on bench. So we've got some of the same options. And I can turn that plank into different types of plank, can I? Or is that's still an input? Which is interesting because I don't have the ornate planks. Maybe it's just telling me that the same item could produce the same things. But if I put the planks in, I have some of the same options, but not the ones that require more than 1, I guess. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to go through planks. You can put the wood straight on and you'll get all the options directly from the wood type. So I think what we've got ourselves a door. I'm going to put together, let's see, I've got 60. Let's have 30 Have I just made 30 doors? Oh, no. I've just made 30 doors. I meant to make planks. Oh. Well, I guess I'm going to have to go chop down some trees, aren't I? Okay, well, before I went and chopped down trees, the materials were ready to get the black pack. So what's happened here is I'm looking at this again. I'm realizing that what this produces is a consumable item, which unlocks the backpack. So there isn't actually a slot, as far as I can tell, for the backpack, but it has produced is a consumable. So if I consume this, which I'm assuming means, yeah, so I've right-clicked on that. Has that increased the inventory size? I feel like maybe I had one fewer inventory slot, like rows of inventory slots before. You guys will be able to tell that by clicking back in the video. I'll have to go back and look at my footage, and I'll figure that out during the editing, I guess. But I think what's happened there is that consuming that has added a row of inventory slots. And if I try and do that again, I imagine it won't work because there is a backpack upgrade, but that requires a high-level workbench and a bunch of cobalt and cinecloth scraps that we don't yet have. Well, editing Porthos here, and I have looked back over the footage and realised that I was in fact wrong to suggest that it had created an extra row on the inventory in the main area, as I'm sure you guys have spotted by just flicking back a few seconds or simply because you're more observant than I am. That was always there. But what is new from the backpack is this up here. So the toggle backpack button, which comes in the third slot here under the memories, gives me that one extra row of 9 that the notification on the left-hand side of the screen did tell us we had. So that's where you get the extra slots. So I have to actually store stuff separately in the backpack, I think. And a good question was whether that leaves stuff still accessible. Can I still use the things in the backpack? No, that's interesting. So if my arrows are in my backpack, then I can't shoot them. So this is actually a separate kind of inventory area where things are sort of almost like more deep storage. And I wonder whether, in fact, I can even use it for crafting. Let's have a quick look. Let's go to Purpose Workbench. I can't access that for crafting either. So that is very much just for carrying capacity then, I would say. You don't really get the opportunity to use the items. Then it's not just an inventory expansion. It is actually a backpack, as it would be if you were kind of analogous to pockets and backpack. You have to take the backpack off and open it to get stuff in and out, whereas you can just quickly stick your hand in your pocket to access stuff. Okay, so here we are back at the little camp, and I have gone away over to this hill over here, and I've taken out one of these rather large trees. It was kind of the same size as that one over there, I would say, which was a bit interesting because some of it had kind of embedded itself in the side of the hill, and it didn't all collapse at once. I had to do a little bit of chopping, but still obviously much quicker than having to mine out every individual log. And I've come away with 119 ash logs, but because it's hardwood, as you can see, it should still give me the same kind of planks, correct workbench, as I had before. So we've still got hardwood planks, hardwood stairs, all the same stuff that we had before. So this time I'm going to be careful to select planks, and I'm going to produce... it won't let do more than 10, even though I've got some more in my inventory. I wonder what happens if I... No, I can't. Space in there. So I produced 21. Let's have another 10 of those. In fact, let's have another 20 of those. So we've got 41 planks, and in a bit we will come back and get hold of probably some roofs and stuff like that. But to start off with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to this little mound here. I'm going to clear away some of this grass, and I'm going to put together a basic little wooden hut just to see what the building mechanics are like. Okay, so here we are. We have a little clear space. Just going to get rid of this last little flower, and let's have a look to see what this is like. I think it might be easy to see what's going on here if I switch to the over-shoulder view as well, which is an option. Simple toggle button for that. And I'm going to just place down some of these planks. Let's see. So if I hold it down, it does continue to place stuff. And if I just make myself a very basic shape here. Is that a 2-block gap? That is a 2-block gap. Cool. Let's put that in. And we'll do, say, 3-block high wall. And because this is a 2-block gap, I can't fall off, so I can do this technique, which allows me to just kind of... Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, so if I hold it down on this block where I can't place it, and then slide over, it doesn't allow me to place it. So I do have to lift and click the button every time, which is fine. Ooh. But then, of course, because it's now a 1 block drop, even with control held down, you do still come off. Oh, and we've run out of planks already. Cool. We're going to need a few more of those, aren't we? So let's get some more planks. And finish up this wall. Now, I'm guessing the door is a 2-block door, so I'm going to put a little lintel over the top of it. Let's grab the door from in the chest. Just the one door. Go. So the door, we have the ghost, like we did with some of the others. It looks like it's centered on the block. And when I open the door, kind of overhangs inside, which is quite a nice effect. So rather than being on one side, it's in the middle, and it goes away from you when you open it and overhangs. So this is obviously not really big enough for all of our stuff, but I'm just kind of checking out the building mechanics a little bit. I think I'll probably keep the workbenches out here for a while. Let's have a look at some roofs. So if I pop these logs in here, we've got flat, shallow, steep, and standard roofs. I think, how many blocks wide are we going to go? We've got 6 blocks there, so we'll stick to a shallow roof, I think. I don't want to get too tall too quickly, so let's see how that looks. And 6 by 5, we're going to need 30 of those shallow roofs. So 1, 2, 3 tens. How does this work? So if I can't reach to place it on top, so let's mount it over. Oh, these are a 2-block wide. These shallow roofs. Okay, so I've got way too many of these then for the size of building that I've made so far. But if I place that down, can I place off it like that? No, I can't. So you can't place on the diagonal, it looks like. So let's put some more. Ooh, let's put some more of these in here next to those existing ones. Come on. There we go. Rotate, yeah, there. And the same on this side. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, it wasn't 6 by 5 at all. It was 6 by 7. Can't count. So we've still got 16 of those, but we're not going to put them across the middle. So now we need to fill that gap, I think probably 14 of the standard size roofs. So let's get 14 of these ones. 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. Swap those out. And I can't place them diagonally off the existing roof. Don't seem to be able to place them at all at the moment. Let's pop this. Put some blocks down here. Oh, okay. So it was allowing me to place it, but I just wasn't seeing the ghost. So if I place you... Oh, there we go. So if I press R for the rotation, then the ghost does appear. I'll see if I can... Can I build with... No, I can't. Can't build with the torch in hand, so I'm going to just pop the rest of this roof on, and then I'll go and sleep, and we can see what it looks like in the daylight. Okay, so here we are as the day dawns over here. A very pretty sunrise. I like the way that the sunrise gives you the sort of pinks and different colours and the oranges and when it's lower down that you would actually experience in reality, which is really cool. The sort of morning haze as well that's kind of pervasive across the area is also really, really beautiful. So I think that's really, really great. And again, for early access, these kind of details are just really, really impressive. So here is our basic and not particularly appealing looking hut. But if I go around to the side where it's actually got some sun on it, you can see the way the roof has kind of changed the gable as I've used the 2 different types. And the building mechanics, to be honest, very similar to what I'm used to from Minecraft, with obviously the right-click place. Slight differences in the fact that obviously some of the pieces are 2 blocks wide and things like that. And you get the ghost sort of preview, which is really helpful. And also the fact that, as we saw when I was placing down like this, holding down the place button, the blocks didn't continue to place as I just walked forward. I did have to keep pressing it each time that I moved past a place where there wasn't space for the block. Okay, so here we are. We've got ourselves set up again with our workbenches. What I've done here is just kind of pop most of the workbenches outside around. I've got a chest here with sort of building blocks and ore and stuff like that in it, which is outside here with the workbenches and such. And then inside, I've just put in the furniture workbench and the chef's stove, which we haven't had a look at just yet, but I'll show that in a second. And then another chest in here just with other random bits and pieces. So the chef's stove is quite interesting. It has 3 different tabs here for baked and prepared food, as well as for ingredients as well. So you can create flour from wheat in here. You can then process that into dough with eggs and water, which we haven't figured out how to get a bucket yet. And then once you've got that, you can take that into the bake section and you can turn dough into bread. But you can also make skewers. So, for example, I now have several mushrooms in my inventory and in the various chests, so I can produce these mushroom skewers. And I can also produce like vegetable skewers with any types of vegetable. And I've actually got... there it is, a vegetable skewer. So this is a tier 2, I suppose you could call it, food item, similar to the cooked wild meat. In fact, no, it's more advanced than the cooked wild meat. It gives you health regen, stamina boost 2, and 10% gains, as opposed to 5% with health regen and health boost 1. So, advantages there to these uncommon food types, which does tell you that it's uncommon and what it gets you as you hover over it. There's one here that we haven't unlocked yet, and there's a few others that we haven't unlocked in the baked goods as well. But what we're going to do rather than doing lots of cooking, is we are going to take our farmer's workbench here, and we're going to pop this down. I think I'll put that on the end of the hut, just like that. And we're going to check this out. So let's see how we get some crops grown. All right, so farmer's workbench, feed bag. Oh, that's very intriguing. We've got a bag of animal feed. It says some animals might be lured by this. So with fruit and veg and wheat and also essence of life, interesting. That's the currency that trader wanted, the Quebec trader. We can produce a feed bag. We also have here a hoe, which we can produce, and I'm sure we'll need. So let's get one of those. Similar to the other tools, a crude hoe, stone and logs. There's a copper and iron hoe here, but it requires me to upgrade the workbench all the way up to tier 4, which is obviously an 8 for iron. So that's quite a big difference from the others where iron and copper are readily available. To get to tier 4, obviously, I've got to go through all of these wheat, lettuce, and softwood, which is a log type we haven't picked up. They're beech, aspen, and banyan logs. What else we got? We've got a watering can filled with water to use on crops. Water crops grow 2.5 times faster. Oh, that's where you can get the bucket from to fill with water or to milk cows. Oh, interesting. So some livestock stuff to be done there. And shears for sheep and foliage. So that's very similar to Minecraft, where shears can give you leaves without silk touch. And here we go. So seeds. To produce seeds, you need essence of life to get seeds. We do have some seed bags already. We've got some lettuce, some carrot, and some wheat. I don't remember where I got those from. I think maybe looted them from some chests. So I'm not going to be spending my essence of life on seeds straight away. But interesting that you don't seem to be able to produce the seeds from the crops, unless maybe when you harvest the crops, perhaps seeds drop as well. What's in here? Aha, saplings. So this is how you regrow the trees then. So you need to get the saplings with the essence of life. And so on the basis that these don't drop from chopping down the trees, perhaps we shouldn't expect the seed bags to drop from harvesting the crops in the same fashion. Looks like you can also process items in, so you can get greater essence of life from 100 essences of life, or vice versa. And you can also buy just full-on crops with higher level workbenches from essence of life as well. What have we got in here? Planters. It just says it requires higher workbench tiers. It doesn't tell me what it does, but we'll work our way quickly up to the tier 2 workbench, and then we'll have a look to see what the stone planter does. I'm assuming there are certain things that you can't just plant into tilled soil. And then what have we got here? Decorative. So, I can craft up little piles of sticks and vines and things like that. And also grass blocks. Interesting. Soil and plant fiber. Okay. So what we still don't see here is a shovel or equivalent kind of tool. So it looks like for tools wise, it is just the pickaxe and the hatchet, and obviously the hoe. Interesting there. So grass. Then can I not pick up? But what happens if I do this? Oh, okay. So that does just drop dirt. And if I want to make a grass block, I have to craft it with plant fiber and dirt. So if I craft that, I can presumably go back and place that back down. And it interestingly hasn't grown the grass down the side of it like it was before. But if I take my hoe and let's say we'll use this area over here, just in front of the workbench, I'm going to start just here, and I'm assuming I'll right click. Yeah, so right click fills the soil. I'm going to go into third person over the shoulder for this. This one, if I hold it down, it does keep going. Won't till past. Oh, it has tilled the grass there. So if I make sure to be aiming at the soil block rather than the grass, it will till it, and it'll till it. Grass still on it, which is interesting. So it doesn't just automatically get rid of the grass. I feel like that's probably not intentional. But if I now take I'm assuming if I now take my wheat seed bag, my lettuce seed bag, and my carrots is ready to go. See, I've got 2 wheat seeds, 3 lettuce seeds, 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. So there's lettuce planted, I guess, in that space. And then let's do some wheat and some carrots. And of course, I have absolutely no idea how long to expect these to take to grow. But if we grab the watering can, of course, we know that we can speed that up. So I'm going to grab a watering can, and I'm going to go get some water, and I'm water the crops. And then we'll have to wait to see how long it takes for them to grow. So there's some water just this way. Okay, so I filled up my watering can. And I just right-click on the crops, and that waters the soil, I guess. So I've made note of what time it is, and we'll see how long it takes those crops to grow up. Okay, well, the first growth stage has just hit. I think it's been about 3 minutes in real time since I planted them and watered them up. So I have no idea how many growth stages there are, of course, but maybe something like 20 minutes to full growth we might be expecting. In the meantime, I've been playing around a bit with the water mechanics. So I made myself a bucket here, wandered over to the river and collected up some water. And if I take the water with the bucket, it does remove it entirely from the pot. However, if I fill the watering can, which of course I now can't empty because I've run out of tilled soil. But if I fill the watering can, it doesn't seem to deplete the water source at all. So I've popped one down here next to the farmer's bench so we can continue to fill our watering can from it. And I don't think it's going to use it up, which is great. What doesn't seem to be the case, though, is if I go back to the river where I picked up this water source just now, you'll see that it hasn't filled it back in. So, where was that? That's a bit further this way, I think. Maybe it has filled back in. Just took a bit of time, perhaps. Well, I can't find the one I took before, but let's just do it again. So if I take this one here, you see there that the water is showing at a lower level than the blocks next door. That's indicating to me that it's not a full block of water, so it hasn't filled that back in. Similarly, if I just plop this down on the ground here, you see the way the water flows out, which is kind of these like steps down in the height of the block. I pick that back up and it disappears, but this still remains lower down, although I don't see the one that I picked up earlier, so perhaps it does eventually refill, because I can't see anywhere along here where there is a block missing other than where we've just picked it up. So that's intriguing, because I was expecting to find another one of these lower down spots from where I collected the water before. So I'm going to keep this water and see whether when I come back here in a little while, that block has filled itself in. So a curious thing here, I have just gone to get into my bed, and it says you may sleep starting at 7:30 p.m, which is interesting because in previous in-game days, it has definitely told me that I could sleep starting at 9 p.m. So interesting to suggest the possibility of seasons there, because it's definitely probably as dark as it has ever been when I've tried to sleep, but it's indicating to me that it's not yet 7:30 p.m, whereas previously it was more like 8:30 p.m. So that does suggest, although have to kind of monitor this and see whether it continues to be the case, it does suggest that there is a different length of day as the game progresses. And also we've definitely seeing here half moon, which we had a full moon in a previous episode. So again, we're seeing different phases of the moon as well, which is very cool to see that they're implementing stuff like that in the game. We've got some really beautiful stars and cloud formations and stuff like that in the night sky as well, with even a hint of a sort of galaxy shine over there and over there as well, which is just really, really great. So very impressed with the graphics and the design of the game, and quite intrigued to see whether that continues to be the case, that there are different lengths of day as the game goes on. Okay, so we've come out after sleeping the night through, and our crops have matured. So it would suggest that actually the mechanics for growth are based on in-game time, and when you skip the night, that does help, because it has only been 8 minutes, I think, in real time since I planted them. It's possible that was all it needed, but I'm more inclined to believe that sleeping through the night advances the growth, which is great, because it helps you to manage your crops in a way that I'm not used to doing. So harvesting them there has interestingly broken the tilling of the soil that the crops weren't on. The soil that had the crops on it has remained tilled, but the soil that was next to it has been broken. Has that been broken by me walking on it? No, it hasn't. It's definitely been broken by the action of harvesting next door, which is interesting. So we've got 21 Essence of Life in here. Was that new? Did we just gather that from harvesting? Is there some in here? There is. So I think that has been gained from harvesting those crops, which is excellent. So that is kind of how you perpetuate your growth. So having harvested those crops, I now have the Essence of Life I need to buy some more seeds. So I had, what did I have? I had 2 carrots, 2 wheat, and 3 lettuce. Yeah, so in order to replace that, 1, 2, 3, 2 wheat, and I can't unlock carrots until I have a higher level workbench, but that has not depleted down my Essence of Life. That's only cost me 10 Essence of Life, and I gained 21 from harvesting the crop. So it looks like you do make a profit in replanting, and that's, I guess, how you continue to perpetuate your crops. Okay, so I've planted down some more wheat and lettuce, and I'm noticing that some of the soil squares, I think the ones that I used last time, so I've added an extra row on the end here, but the ones where the crops were planted still show as though they are watered, but the ones that broke down and lost their tillingness, I need to water again. I don't think that is actually consuming the water from the can, which is now empty. And if I do this, it refills, and there's no indication that it's depleting that water source. So that's great. We've got an infinite water for the watering can there. You wouldn't be able to use that as an infinite source for cooking, because I think if we look back at the cook's bench, the items that require water, such as the dough, requires an actual bucket of water, which would not be then renewable with the single source here. But the watering can is, so one single water source is sufficient for you to continually grow crops, which growing pretty quickly. I think there's been a minute or two since I planted those, and you've obviously seen me water them, so they're growing pretty fast, and soon we will have many more than the 5 of each we need to upgrade the workbench. We do need, however, to find some softwood logs, banyan, beech and aspen, or we need to grow some beech sapling. So if I buy a beech sapling, can I just plant it? I can. Cool. So I've just plopped that down, and that will grow a beech tree, and I only need 5 logs from that tree to upgrade the workbench. So that should be achievable. Obviously, we also need to get to 50 Essence of Life, which we'll do by growing crops. So we might end up having to grow more crops than we actually need to have a 5 of each, which we will be already anyway, but we might have to grow significantly more in order to reach 50 Essence of Life. So while I'm waiting for the tree and the crops to grow, I've come back over to check on our little water block here, which still shows a lower level than the rest, which is intriguing because I've just double-checked up and down here, and I definitely can't see another spot where I'd taken one before. So I'm going to have a little experiment here. I'm going to put this back, and I'm going to take it from this spot where it's in between two. No, that still takes a lower level. What if I... Oh dear. I seem to have taken that and then placed it back in with somewhere where there is already water. Can I do that? If I place that here. Oh, that's just gone now. Okay, so that's something to be aware of, that you don't get it back. It will let you place your water where there's already water. And I've now created these 2 random holes in the river. But I am very curious as to what happened to the block that we took our original water source from, because there definitely isn't another spot here along the riverbank where there's a lower water level. So I'm very confused because it doesn't appear to have filled back in over time, and yet I can't find the old one. So that's quite strange. Okay, so we are back at the little farm plot that we've created, and these are not ready yet. They're not showing me the option to harvest, and they are not as tall. There we go. Is that them going now? Boom, 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 boom. Nope, so that's still another intermediate growth stage. They're not mature yet. And it's definitely been longer in real time than it was last time when I slept in between. So that, I think, confirms the fact that sleeping does advance the growth of the crops. And you can rely on them to grow in accordance with the in-game time rather than with the actual real processing time. So we've got to wait a little bit longer for them to grow up. And... once we harvest those, we'll see whether we have enough Essence of Life to upgrade, although we'll obviously also need to wait for this guy. So another interesting thing that I've discovered about the crafting system is that there's sort of 2 different types of workbenches, and what they can do, or some of them can do, is pull the resources from nearby chests. According to the patch notes from the recent patch that I was talking about earlier on, they've increased that range now to 14 blocks horizontally, which was only 7 before. So this chest here, which contains, for example, iron ingots, and I do not have any iron ingots in my inventory. If I come over to the armorer's workbench, you'll see that it's telling me I have 10 iron ingots available, which is the ones that are in chest. There are 6 in the furnace as well, which is not including in the count. And the linen scraps, I have 1 in my inventory, but the remainder of those are actually, I think, in the chest inside. Yeah, there they are, linen scraps. So that's one type of bench. So that goes for the workbench. The basic workbench has that feature, as does the blacksmith's anvil and the armorer's workbench, and I think probably also the farmer's workbench as well. And these are the benches which have recipes. So the format for this bench is the items are shown on the left, the recipe for the item, then it tells you the requirements, and it can pull those items from nearby chests. The other type of bench, though, is the builder's workbench and also the tanning rack, and indeed even the campfire. These are input-style workbenches, we'll call them, where you have to put the item in the input. So I can't make, for example, heavy leather in this right now because I am not carrying the heavy hide. The heavy hide is in chest, and I would have to go to the chest to get that item to then place it in the tanning. So you've got a bit of an inconsistency there, where some of these don't have the recipes available. You have to put the items in. I'm assuming that's intentional because there doesn't seem to be any reason why they would have just not bothered to set the tanning rack up with recipes. But I think for me personally, if we're going to have one type of benches that can pull the items, it would be nice to never have to go and get the items. So to have to go and get them and have them in your inventory for some things, but not for all of them, is a little bit of a frustration to me personally. I'd rather either have to always go and get the items or never have to go and get the items. But it looks like our crops are ready, so let's harvest these. And oh, good. I was just worried for a second there that by using left click rather than pressing the interact button, I might have kind of harvested them incorrectly. But what have we picked up? We're now up to 47 Essence of Life in our inventory, which is on top of some we already had. So that's a total of 63. And we have enough of lettuce and wheat to upgrade the bench. we're now just waiting for our little beech tree, who has unfortunately not seemed to have made any progress at all. So this could take a while. I wonder if any of these trees are beech trees. I might go and check out that guy over there. Feel like he's probably an oak tree. I haven't yet kind of figured out what the different trees look like. These big guys over here with the darker green leaves, I think they were ash. I want to say that this one was an oak, which is the same color as that one, so probably oak as well. These, I think, are birch, but I haven't come across something that's obviously a beech tree just yet. So I'm guessing the yellow leaves would be maple, because that's what color maple trees are in real life. But what a beech tree is remains to be seen. So I haven't yet discovered a beech tree, so we might just have to wait for the sapling to grow. But I might use some of the time while I'm waiting to see if I can go and find one out in the world. Great, so upgraded the workbench to tier 2. We now need carrots and corn and lightwood, birch, camphor and gumboab. Wow, that's going to be interesting to find, to upgrade to the next level. And we do have... Oh, no, we don't have birch saplings unlocked. So we can't actually grow the tree we need. We do need to go out and find birch to do that. But carrots and corn are now available, and we can grow those with the seed bags that we've unlocked. We've also unlocked an eternal wheat seed bag. Wow, that's an interesting one. So if I have a wheat seed bag, I can upgrade it to one. I'm assuming that means it never runs out. So once you've bought that once for a much more expensive 20 Essence of Life, so it's 10 times the price of a regular wheat bag, but as soon as you grow your 11th wheat with it, it obviously makes back on its investment. So that's... Or you have to have a wheat bag as well. So I guess it kind of, in a way, it costs 22 Essence of Life. We don't currently have enough, and it looks like the Eternal Corn Seed comes with the next tier. So each tier, you unlock the Eternal bags for the tier before. So that is an interesting one. So at the moment, there is some corn growing, because I did have 3 corn seed bags already unlocked. But I'm going to, I think, check out the carrot seeds, and maybe perhaps I might stretch to an Eternal wheat seed bag, and then an Eternal lettuce seed bag, so that we can continue to grow that to gain Essence of Life from the crops without having to keep spending it on more seeds. So I've got my Eternal wheat seed, and let's just confirm. It's gone. It's gone. So, does it grow an eternal wheat plant? Perhaps what it means is that the wheat plant that grows from it will never run out. Once it's grown, you'll just be able to harvest it indefinitely. Hopefully that's what that means, because otherwise we've just burned 22 Essence of Life on some wheat instead of 2 Essence of Life. So switching focus back to building and tools and such for a minute while we wait for our corn to grow up. I have been looking into getting some iron gear with the iron we've gathered. I've got a sword, I've got an iron shortbow, and I've come back into the regular workbench to look into the iron pickaxe and the iron hatchet, which are obviously these two just here. However, I've noticed that there is a hammer and there is indeed a shovel. Now, the iron shovel is the only shovel on the list. There isn't a shovel in any of the other tiers. So I guess, it says breaks multiple blocks of dirt simultaneously. I guess they've decided that you only need the one shovel. There's no advantage to pushing up to faster breaking. We'll see how quick that is in just a minute. And then there's also the iron hammer here, which says used to alter the appearance of structural building blocks, which is improved version of the crude hammer with greater durability. So there is a crude hammer here, which I think we'll do, because I don't actually have enough iron, unfortunately. I've got one short of enough iron for both the shovel and the hammer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the iron shovel, and we'll check out how the shovel works. And I'm also going to get a crude hammer, and we'll see what the general hammer mechanic is for building. So let's have a look, check out those. So first I'm going to sleep so that it's light again in the morning. It looks like not quite done yet. So yeah, we're going to go to sleep, and then we'll check out the hammer in the daylight. Okay, so the day is dawning. It's a little bit dark and hazy still to see the full effect of whatever the hammer might do. But here we have our corn. And from that, we had 0 essence of life before. We now have 15. So we've received 5 essence of life from each of those corn. The eternal wheat is still growing, so that's taken a lot longer to grow than the regular wheat because we have slept overnight and it still isn't ready. But what is ready is our beech tree, which frankly is a bit of an eyesore up here next to the hut. Break that down. I have also found a birch tree. So there was a mature birch tree over there near that smaller one. So we do have the birch logs we need to upgrade once we have enough crops. We do need 100 essence of life, though. We need to make a greater essence of life using this conversion here in order to upgrade the farmer's bench to tier 3. So we probably won't get to that today. We've had a good look into farming mechanics, and what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at the hammer as part of the building mechanics and the shovel as well, and then we'll end the episode there for today. So, hammer, let's have a look. We've got regular planks on the wall. What happens if I hit them with the hammer? Left click. Nothing. Left click appears to be an attack, but if I right click, so I right click, it just, okay, so the crude hammer doesn't do anything. Let's have a look at the description again. So the crude hammer just says, used to alter the appearance of structural building blocks. So I was wondering whether the crude hammer was maybe not able to do that, where the iron hammer... Oh, this isn't the hammer. This is a mace. Right, crude hammer. Let's try this again. So left click with the hammer. Oh, so that's changed that into a decorative plank. That's changed it into an ornate one. That's changed it back. Okay, so it's cycling through the 3 different types of plank that we have on the builder's bench. So that kind of makes sense, I guess, based on what happened earlier on, where when I put this in here, you've got 3 different plank options up here. But if I put planks on the bench, it actually creates, gives me this option of all 3 different types of planks. So it doesn't actually differentiate between what kind of plank I put on there. And in fact, I can transfer them. So I can just put ornate planks in, switch to decorative, and pull them back out. And those same 3 planks become decorative planks. And in a similar fashion, if I were to place them on a wall and hit them with the hammer, then they would change as well. So that's great. The hammer is kind of a shorthand way of cycling between those options. So you can just place all the planks down, and then I could come along here, for example, and go, well, actually, I want the lower part of my wall to all be these decorative planks. And so I'm going to hit them with the hammer, and that's going to change them. So I don't have to take them out, put them in the workbench, and cycle through the options. I can just hit them with a hammer, and they will change. So that's quite an interesting mechanic. Very different, of course, completely new versus Minecraft building, where you have to have all the different blocks in hand. With this one, depending on the limitations of what you want, you can do that. I wonder what happens if we do it to the roof. So let's pop up on the roof, and if I hit the roof, nothing. So the roof tiles don't give me any cycling options, but it does look like it does with that. So if let's get some stone. Wrong chest. Let's get some stone. I'm going to grab this cobblestone. Let's grab as well some clay. See what happens. So let's just try these out. So if I pop this in the workbench, that's the wrong one. Builder's workbench. Cobblestone. Oh, cobblestone. There we go. So I've got stone and cobblestone now, so I can directly transfer my cobblestone into stone on the workbench. So that's how you get regular stone blocks. For having broken the stone and got cobble, you can then get stone back out. And then my options are stone bricks, decorative bricks, ornate bricks, and smooth bricks. So if I make a brick... Oh, I have to press the craft button. So make a brick. And if I put brick on the thing, it will let me cycle between those 4 types as well. So I can cycle between ornate, decorative, and smooth. And I can pull that smooth brick out there. And that obviously allows me to make all of these other options. So stone brick, half slab, smooth slab. So presumably, let's have a little experiment here. If I create some slabs out of this stone brick. There they are. So those I can't put in the bench, but can I do anything with them with the hammer? So if I place those slabs down on the ground, does the hammer let me swap them? No, it doesn't. So those you are fixed with the type of slab that you get. Obviously, I could have had... okay, interesting. So I had to actually make... I think I've got a smooth brick already. I had to actually make a smooth brick. So if I just put my stone in there, I can make a smooth brick. But if I put that one in there, that gives me the option to make stone brick half slab smooth, which the basic stone does not give me the option to do. I can only make the cobblestone slabs, cobblestone roof and wall, whereas with the stone bricks, I can make brick pillars, brick roofs, brick walls, and a bench. So that's interesting, and not all of these items are cyclable, but essentially it looks like then for different types of brick at least, so the planks and the stone and the brick types, using the hammer allows you to cycle through the different options. So we have done a little bit of building and farming today, and we've learned quite a lot about the mechanics for both of those. I've really enjoyed continuing my exploration and learning much more about this game. I hope you've enjoyed coming along for the ride, and if you have done, then please do consider leaving a like and even subscribing so that you don't miss the future discoveries as we continue to learn our way around this wonderful new game. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.